What is up, people? Fario here from AwesomeDudes.com, and before you start with this video, just quickly, I wanted to tell you that you can go on my website here, AwesomeDudes.com, and then you can go under download free assets, and there you can download free assets. Now, these are commercial free assets. They are not assets for this tutorial. The assets for this tutorial, this dark cave, you can find, link is in the description below, so you can get them from that link. But these are other commercial free assets that you can use to develop your own games, and you have 3D assets, 2D assets, backgrounds, and whatnot, and I keep adding new and new stuff. So you should definitely check this out, and yeah, enjoy the video. In the previous video, we have created our player's animation and we synced in the animation with our code. So what we are going to do in this video is that we are going to make our player jump, because at the moment our player is not jumping, so let's take care of that. And in order to do so, we're going to go in our player walk script, and on top here, we are going to declare a variable, which I'm going to call, first we are going to set it to private, and it's going to be float, and we're going to call it jump force, which is going to be equal to 500 F, or, well, 500 floats. Well, this F at the end denotes the float, so yeah, you know what I mean. So going down here, we are going to create a private function, which is going to be void, so it's not going to return anything, and I'm going to call it jump. And inside of this function, we are going to detect when the user presses space. So we're going to say if, which is an if statement, and we already saw what if can do. It tests condition the same way as we did here. So if our player presses a button, then we're going to jump. And we're going to use the input again. So we're going to say if input.getKey. And which key do we want? Well, we want the key code dot space. So when the user presses space on his keyboard, we are going to make our player jump. And that's very simple. We are simply going to type here my body dot add force, and we are simply going to add a new vector 2. So vector 2, and here for the X, we are going to say 0. For the Y, we are going to say jump force. And that's that. And we are going to go inside of the update function. So inside of the update, or actually it can be inside of the fixed update. So here we are simply going to call our jump function. We know that fixed update is going to be called every couple of frames. So here we are going to detect if our player tries to jump or not. So going now here, when I run the game, notice when I hit space, the player jumps on. Whoa, take it easy, my brother. Did you see how the crazy player jumped? So he was like, whoa, I'm going off and you're never gonna see me again. So yeah, we need to fix that. Let me go back in the script, and instead of jump force being equal to 500, we can set the jump force a little bit lower. I'm thinking about a number like, let's say 100. If I go back here and try to jump, okay, yeah, this can work. Actually, no, because we only jump, this is a small jump. Let me just go back here into our, let's say 500 again, but I'm just gonna press space once. I think, yeah, this is what I also wanted to show you. I'm going to put it back to 100, and this is what I want to show you. Notice when we are in the air, so I can press space as long as I like, and the player is going to jump. Notice here, he's now floating. We don't want this. We want to be able to control that the player can jump, but when he is in the air, he will not be able to jump. So for that, we're going to go here inside of our script, and here above our private jump, we are going to create a private boolean is grounded, which is by default equal to false. So this variable is going to control if we are grounded or not. And here, when we try to jump, we can test if the key code is equal to space. So if you press space, and we can test if is grounded. So if we are on the ground, then we are going to jump. If we go back and try to jump now, we will not be able to. Even though I'm pressing space, I'm not able to jump, because grounded or is grounded is equal to false. Now, in order to fix this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the player here. And here we are gonna copy his box collider 2D component. So click on the gear here, which is in the component's top right corner. So click on the gear and click on copy component. After we copy the component, again click on the same gear and paste component as new. Simply click paste component as new, and here it is. I'm gonna move it on top by clicking on it. So clicking on the gear and clicking move up, not move down, it's move up. So again, one more time and move up. And this time, so now we have two colliders on our player, but this one, so the second one, we're gonna click this is trigger. So check the checkbox here, which says is trigger. Why? Well, that enables us to go here, and now we can type here void on trigger enter 2D, which takes a collider 2D as a parameter, which I'm gonna call target. And this is a function that we are inheriting from mono develop, which is this one right here, or mono behavior, excuse me, which is on top. This function is gonna enable us to check when we collide with any other collider. So we are gonna reuse the target, which is the parameter. So I'm gonna say if target.tag is equal to ground. So if we are touching the ground, then is grounded is equal to true. So now we will be able to jump. Now, what does this tag mean? Well, I'm going to show you right now. So we're going to go here and we are going to select our player or any other game object. And here for the tags, we're going to click on add tag, and I'm going to click on the plus button and add the new tag, which I'm going to call ground. And now I'm going to select all of the grounds, and I'm going to click here on tag, and I am going to tag them by the tag ground. So this is it. And now every ground has a tag called ground. And if I go back here, this is what it means. So in code, we are using the target, which is going to be any of the grounds that we are currently on with our player. And we're going to check the tag from it. If it's equal to ground, then we are on the ground and we can jump. Also here, when we jump, but I'm going to show you that actually right now. So when I run the game, now we're going to be able to jump. But notice I can still jump as many times as I like. What's the problem here? Well, the problem is that I need to go, and here, as soon as we jump, we need to say is grounded is now equal to false, because this is logic. If we have just jumped, then we are not grounded anymore. So we are not on the ground. When I say grounded, you're not grounded by your parents. They're not allowing you to go outside of the house. No, that's not that. We are on the ground or standing on the ground. So we can also rename this variable something like standing on the ground if you like. But as soon as we jump, we are not standing on the ground anymore, which means that we are not grounded. And is grounded is now equal to false. So if I go back now and try to jump, we're only going to jump once. So notice only jump once, only once. But since I added only little power here, let's move it back to 500 and see this in action. Will it work? So if I go back and see it in action, if I press now jump, yeah, now it is working. Notice how I'm jumping now. So this is the extent of the jump. Only this. Previously, when it was 500, I could jump as long or as high as you saw, because this right here is in the fixed update, which is called every 2 or 3. Let's say it's called every 4 frames. If we have 60 frames, is called at least 15 times in a single second. So as long as we hold space and we don't have this grounded variable to control our jumping, then we are over. When I say we are over, I mean that in terms of that we are gonna, well, jump infinitely, okay? So let me try to jump again, and you see we are jumping again. Now, what I want to add to our player is something, actually we don't need to do that, but I'm just gonna show you that. So I am gonna select the player, and I am gonna go inside of our project. I'm gonna right click and create a new folder, which is gonna be called physics materials. Okay, physics materials. Inside of it, I'm gonna right click and I am gonna create a new material. So this one right here. So new material, or actually this one, not this one, but it's gonna be create, and that is, let me just find it here, physics 2D material. So yeah, physics 2D material, and I'm gonna call it bouncy. And here we see that we have the friction and the bounciness. I'm gonna leave the friction at 0.4 and I'm gonna set the bounciness at 0.15. And now we can select the player. So we can select the player and we can go on the player's collider. This one that we did not check is trigger, and we can drag the bouncy on it right here for the material. So now the player, when he falls down, he will bounce a little bit. No, I don't know if you noticed that, but notice when I click here, the player's gonna bounce just a little bit. Well, take a look at his legs. They're just a little bit bouncing. And also when the player jumps, he is bouncing just a little bit when he falls down, which makes our player a little bit more elastic, okay? Yeah. So this is it for the player's jump and for the bounciness. So we learned a lot in this lecture. We saw how can we use Boolean variables to control our game workflow. And this is how usually you're going to use the Boolean variables in order to control the workflow. Simply, well, add here is grounded or any other variable, and then you're going to uncheck it the same way as we did here. I don't want to go through explanations. We're going to move on to the next lecture and see you then.